Crazy Camp Life, Votes, and Tribals, the life of a survivor is more than you see on TV. So if you need the scoop on island survival, crack a coconut, put on some rice, and let's spill the immunity. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Happy Thanksgiving. If you're in the United States and you celebrated Thanksgiving yesterday, we hope that you had a wonderful day, shared lots of joy and time with your families, or however you choose to celebrate it, that you ate a lot and had a good time. Well, not only do we have turkey tummy a little bit, which makes you a little sleepy, we also have a kind of quiet episode that, not saying that it put us to sleep, but it didn't have any fireworks. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, it had a little tryptophan in it, right? It had a little turkey in it. It was not so exciting. Alex, what about you?
Well, I was going to say that, they tried to mix it up with the challenge, separating them into 3 teams and taking away 3 people's votes, but Reba planned it out pretty well, so it still ended up being a pretty quiet episode.
It could have been cool if anybody's willing to take the shot at Dee, but they're not. And very, very reminiscent of previous seasons of Survivor or Big Brother, where nobody wants to take the big shot and then they just run it to the end. And that's sort of how it's looking at the moment. But I'm hoping that things can be shaken up a bit next week. It kind of looked like it, maybe.
Yeah, it did look like it. It looked, I think it's really, really interesting. I think that just Bruce's opinion of everything. I liked Drew's analogy. I do have to say, for the most, like, I don't know how to put this, what Drew says in this show, in this season, it just brings it all up a level. I don't know if you heard him say something about the sword of Damocles, and he was talking about he's like his intelligence. It's just like it's not just intelligence, it's kind of like a worldly kind of a thing. Like, he's well read, you can tell, and all these things. So he brings in all these things when he's talking. I thought it was really interesting.
He's like meant for sound bites. Like, the producers must be like, I love him, because wasn't it last week when he was like, you get a lot of at bats and we'll see which ones are home runs and which ones are strikeouts? It's like he's just full of these like easy clippable quotes. Besides the fact that he's smart, he's kind of, quick with it. But I still always wonder, come on, the sword. It's like he had to. I'm always like, how many of these did he think about before he went out there? Or is he just laying on the beach being like, I'm going to say that in front of the cameras. That's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
What's funny though? Bruce always, he got me with that backstory though. It happens to me all the time in reality TV. There's someone that I'm just like, they are just annoying me, or I'm like, I'm not rooting for them. And then they tell their backstory and I'm such an empath that I'm like, see, now I feel bad. Now I kind of like him.
Yeah. No, I felt the same. And
got me.
I was talking to Brie about this. It's like when you hear somebody's backstory, it contextualizes their behavior.
Yep.
And then it makes it like lovable, and you see the reason and the motive behind the way that they're acting.
Absolutely.
Right. And I learned this in the hospitality industry. I worked at these really fancy, world-class hotels, right? And you'd see the people behind the front desk and you'd be like, this person is like, the number 1 hotel, front desk person in the, world. And then you meet them and you learn their story and you're like, wow, that is why they're the best at what they do,
Yeah.
So you're totally right. Every time you hear somebody's backstory, that's why they say story. You really tell your story out there, because it allows people to really know the reason you are the way that you are, right?
As soon as he said it and they showed the picture of little Bruce, I just threw my hands in the air and I was like, well, see? Well, now I'm going to root for him. But I do love I wonder, like Emily, how much he can kind of turn his game. I don't, I know it's getting towards the end, but I also love a good redemption story. I love when people grow out there, on the island. So I'm interested to see what happens. But yeah.
So what did you think? What did you think about the lie they told Bruce right at the beginning, right? Right as the episode starts, we see them all come together and say, but Bruce, she was gunning for you.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I saw here that I've also seen on, other episodes of Survivor and Big Brothers, I don't like almost like mean-spirited lies. I don't like, driving wedges like that, like pulling the rug out from someone. I really didn't like what Drew and Dee did with the rice with Jake. That never sits quite well with me. And sometimes like, why, like, what's the point of that lie? Kelly's not there anymore. So it doesn't do anything for him except personally to cut him down, to hurt him. And so I didn't, and that's someone who's not a big Bruce fan, although it's, he's growing on me now, but I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt bad for him. I just thought it was unnecessary.
Yeah.
But I think they were just like, why? I think they were trying to be like, we were protecting you. Like we wanted to, but it didn't make any sense because he wasn't going to go home anyway. So it just was,
He wasn't even on the chopping block. He couldn't have been.
Yeah.
And so
No.
I don't know why they needed to say that. And it was just, I think, very hurtful to him. And even, Kelly had said he was annoying and she didn't want to be associated with him. And I think when he watches it back, I think it is going to be hurtful because he really did trust her and want to work with her. So yeah, it's already like he's going to watch it back. It's going to be hurtful. And then they say that they even take it a step further. I was not a fan.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Drew and his big words, he said Bruce is acting very tempestuous right now,
He's
which
not
I had to
even-
go look
the
up. I think
SAT
everybody had to go look
SAT
up.
words.
Yeah, tempestuous, which means lots of conflicting emotions, which I think, definitely
For
defined,
sure.
Bruce.
Yeah, he didn't even want to work
his
around
feelings
Cam.
about it.
He was like, I'm not doing anything. Just sat there like, I'm taking a me day. I'm not doing
Yeah,
anything.
he was like pouting over the fire. He was like,
Well, I'm not going to
I'm
do
not-
anything.
yeah. I was like, how long is he gonna keep pouting? But he got back to Bruce pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the chicken.
Yeah, it didn't take long. Bruce be Brucin, as Katura says.
Yep.
Mhm.
That's right. What did you guys think about Emily testing the waters? And what is the implications of all that?
I think it's it's a risky move to pitch, them taking out their own alliance members, but I give her credit because I feel like a lot of people are maybe afraid of the core four and don't want to put themselves out there because then they become the target, but she was able to do it without becoming the target. They weren't like, now we got to get her, which shows that she can trust the boys in the core four to some extent because once Dee heard Kendra, like she was like, get her out of here, So I think it was a risky move, but I respect it. I liked it.
Alex, what did you think?
Well, I think people are afraid of the core four. They've seen how powerful they are. And we talked about the strength of, if you have four people who really trust each other, who won't turn their back on each other, it's pretty hard to penetrate. Which is, come to be true on this season.
Mm-hmm.
But without her vote, and we could talk about this, how they divided the tribes and she lost her vote, she didn't really have any sway in making a decision this episode. So she could put a name out there, but she didn't really have any way to act on it or do anything about it. And I think without her vote and without, Drew too on with her, and then, then Austin as well, she's not going to be able to get anything done. So,
Bree, what'd you think of it?
Well, thanks, Dale, by the way, for saying that. We appreciate it. I like that I think it's really interesting that she's testing the waters, that she's looking to see what their reactions are. And she backed away from it really, really quickly. I think the thing that she said is, we all know that if Dee gets the end, she's going to win. And so she pulled back from that. She was just seeing, what are they going to say? What are they going to do? How are they going to be? And can I move forward with them? She's very, she looks at everything in her strategy, very precisely. Mm-hmm. So she is thinking of all of the different positions that she can put herself in and who she can work with and how she can move forward. And so she already sees the end. She is seeing, like, if I'm the fifth of a five, I'm going to be the one gone first. How do I change that up? Do I want to change who I'm bringing with? Because now my vote is, even though she didn't have a vote this week, my vote is stronger. And you have to start thinking of these moves when you're at this point, because there's 8 people left. As soon as you lose another person, you are really out of options, because unless you can tear apart the core 4 and put them against each other, you're not going to get a chance. They're going to go down to 4 and they know who they're bringing to the end. So you're going to be screwed. You're going to be out of luck. So if you don't make a move like right now, and so I think she's thinking about that. Like, if they're not going to react, they're not going to move with me, they're not going to say, okay, we got to start taking these big shots at people, then I need to go with people that are going to take those shots. And I think Bruce and Jake and Kat are enough of a 4 that they can somehow move forward. Now, of course, we take all of those immunity idols into play, but Bruce does have one. So we don't know, right, how it can play out. And if Emily plays her cards right, she could actually stay tight with the core four, learn about what they're going to do, and use so that the immunity idol that Bruce has can be used extremely strategically.
Yeah.
All you have to do is knock one of them out, and you will be able to take over, and then you'll be the core four, right? So there's a lot at play here. So I think that what we saw there was a big foreshadow for what we'll see next week as a possibility of any big moves that Emily can make.
Yeah, she's got it. I mean, you're right. She has to do it next week. Otherwise, they can just run it to the end. I think that the voting out of Kendra is like a waste. And I also think that a lot of people are playing scared and they're just doing whatever it takes to get by. So Bruce is willing to vote for Jake. Katura's sharing information that Kendra gave. Jake will say and do anything. And so it's a little bit frustrating. Like, I would love to see them instead of all playing scared individually and just saying anything to get by. I would love to see them come together and actually try to take that shot against one of the core four. But if it doesn't happen next week, it's just not going to happen. But Julie is the key, because Julie already feels that she's on the bottom of the four, and she's probably right, because really, if she gets to the end, she's the one who's going to win, being the oldest, and she's a badass out there. Like, she is killing it in challenges, but she recognizes she's on the bottom. If they can pull Julie, like, I feel like it could get so good. But, I don't want to get gaslit again to think something big's going to happen.
Well, you had this episode where, Julie said, hey, let's get off Jake. And then Dee was like, no, we need to get Kendra off because she said my name, right? So there's kind of maybe a rift there. But, on all previous episodes, Julie and Dee have been very, very tight.
True.
Emily working with Bruce. So this is the situation that would have to happen, right? Is that Emily tells Bruce, hey, this is where the votes are going to go. Then you have to rely on Bruce to play his idol for a different person, which I don't feel like is in Bruce's nature.
No.
I don't think, I feel like he would have a very hard time, and that would be an easy way, from his perspective, he would say, they're just trying to have me give up my idol.
Mm-hmm.
So I get voted off and I go home. So it's very difficult to see. And Emily and Bruce don't have a good relationship either. So It's very hard to see how Bruce could play his idol in a way that would eliminate one of the people in the core four. I was also going to say that Austin and Dee are sitting in a tree.
There's
a
connection. They were,
yeah.
And Caleb and Kelly were holding hands at Tribal. I know he was comforting her, but I was like, what's going? I went and tried to look see if any fans were saying anything. I'm like, what's going on over here? I know Caleb's a very affectionate guy, but what's going on in Ponderosa? What's happening out there in Fiji?
He's a smooth guy. He's a salesman. But that's why I don't think that the core four will break up, because we had Drew and Austin very close. We had Dee and Julie very close. But if Austin is very close to Dee too, because he has a little crush on her and maybe she's got a crush back, well, then they're really, that's very, very, very
That's
tight.
going to be hard to break up. Again, that leaves Julie only being really tight with Dee and maybe then making the move. Dee was so set on getting rid of Kendra because it's like she's saying my name, and not thinking about what was best for the group. And I feel like that raises a little red flag, but it requires these people, Bruce, Jake, Emily, Katurah, Julie, to work together. And it's like they have not really talked game ever as a group. And I just have a feeling that's not what's happening. I think the four rolls to four, right? I think.
And like you said, Kat is playing scared. Kat jumped initially because she was so scared. And she's just like, I'm going to go with the core four. And I think she's just, I'm going to be the I'm going to be the person they take to the end in that core four.
Yeah.
And they'll switch me on at the last second and maybe she can get some votes, but that's not going to happen.
No, I'm disappointed. I was hoping in the beginning, because she hid that she was a lawyer, and I really loved the way she was like selling it. Like, what's it like being a lawyer? I think I brought it up in like one of our first episode, but I don't know. Like, she just the last few episodes, I'm like, she will just say and do anything. You can't tell her anything, and I don't know when they're going to learn that they can't tell her anything, but we'll see what happens.
She's gonna pull that out at Final Tribal, at the Final Tribal. She's gonna say, "I'm a lawyer," and then everyone's gonna be like, "Okay, like cool."
I know they hide the weirdest things. Yeah. So what?
Remember the guy like last season? He's like, "I'm hiding that I'm 18 years old. I'm actually 20." It's like, okay.
Like,
I know, right?
They lie about the dumbest stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
That's not Bowie Jane, okay? That's not.
Oh my God.
She was said she was 35 and she's really 45. I get that a little bit more, but yeah, I don't know. I think that the thing with Julie, and this is, and Jeff was great to point it out, and it's something that I didn't see coming
Mm.
is Julie a threat now? Is
Yeah.
she really? I mean, is she put herself in
Hmm.
a position of being a threat?
I mean,
Challenge
I think
Beast.
so. I think so. I mean, being the oldest out there, she really is not a quitter. Like, she puts up a fight. And you see other people last week and this week dropping pretty quickly and kind of crumbling under the pressure. And she just does not give up. So she's really likable. She's a mom, she's got a lot going for her. And so I think she's a big threat to win the game.
Yeah.
Well, I said
Alex?
this too. Bruce is the only challenge threat. I mean, he's the strongest guy out there, and he's 43, 40. He's in his 40s, and he's literally the strongest person out there, and he's proved that in the last 2 challenges. So I just think that points to kind of the lack of physical threats this season. Not that Julie isn't a physical threat and a challenge beast, and doing amazing for 49 years old, like incredible. But I just don't think there's a lot of competition this season. So yeah, she is kind of a threat, and she's good at the endurance challenges.
Yeah.
Which I mean, D is kind of, we said D and Kelly, they kind of have that survivor, like, I don't know, like stature,
They do.
where these kind of like smaller females seem to do well in these kind of endurance challenges
Yeah.
because there's less leverage. You have a big, tall guy like Drew who's holding out these plates. There's a lot of
that's a lot.
tension over his long limbs. So yeah, I mean, but I think D might go on a run here, maybe in these next episodes, hopefully.
Yeah, I love what Bobby's saying. He said old people are doing well, right? Gives this 41-year-old some hope. Yes, the 40-somethings. I'm like, same. I could never. I mean, I could never do what Julie and Bruce are doing, and it's really great to see. I mean, you would think that, Austin or, Emily or whoever, the younger people might be more dominant, and it's great to see, Julie and Bruce just killing it 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I think we're seeing, I mean, to be honest, when we say they're in their 40s, that's so young still. I mean, if they've trained at all and got, they're naturally stay in shape. They both look like they have done that just because of their endurance, Bruce and Julie. They could be hitting their stride. How many quarterbacks are we seeing that are doing really well in there? You know what I mean? There's a lot of 40-something-year-olds that are crushing it when it comes to whatever that sport is or whatever they're doing. So I'm not surprised.
Mhm.
I guess I was surprised at Julie because I think more so than anything, I put her in that mom spot, right? Because she talked about it. I'm the mom. I'm the one that's gonna, do the thing and like support people and be that person that they can rely on and lean on and that kind of thing. And we've seen that role many times in Survivor, but I don't think we've seen that role with someone that also can start dominating in challenges because Julie, if Bruce had been voted out and Julie was in there, she would have won back to back, which you know what I mean? Because she was right there till the end. So she could be, which you don't expect. I guess we should expect it. So bad on me for saying that, but like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just something we're not accustomed to, but we should believe that these moms and
Yeah.
business women at the same time can also be badasses when it comes to physical challenges and stuff. So I think that she's really putting herself in a threat spot now. I think that her name will come up sooner than later now because of that. So they'll start looking at that, but I think it's pretty smooth sailing for a little bit of time, at least for the core 4, because they're looking at Bruce has to go. And I think, Bruce does need to go because he'll just keep winning. He's proven that he can do that now, and he's been very strong in challenges. So you got to get Jake out. You got to get Bruce out because I don't know. Neither of them, I don't think, could win. So we have to start looking at who's going to be a GOAT, when and where, and how we're going to bring them forward. But Julie would be a threat. Julie would be, if Bruce was not there, Julie would be the one with the necklace on her the last 2 episodes, the last 2 challenges. And I think that puts her in a different category all of a sudden. So she's starting to build, like, even though she's not winning, she's beating all the rest of them, right? So she can like say, maybe I didn't win that immunity challenge, but I beat all of you guys, right? I lasted longer than all of you did. And I think that says something, that I'm in it to win it, that I have that winning attitude, that I have that strength and perseverance within me, that tenacity. How many big words can I throw out that Drew would like? I don't know.
You would love it.
Right?
The perseverance.
There's got to be some sort of Damocles. There's got to be something that I can put in there that's like, this is like Helen of Troy. What? No, I don't know. I'm mixing them up now. I don't even know.
Well, Bruce said it at Tribal. He said, this is a target, because he's like, oh, it's a good thing and a bad thing. And Jeff's like, really? It's a bad thing? You're safe tonight, Bruce. And he's like, okay, well, maybe not. Before we move on, Kendra's performance was super fun, holding the desk. She had it on one fingertip, holding it up, and her expressive face, that was cool to see. But if she wanted, I mean, she would have stayed, but I thought her performance was pretty fun. So
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the people who lost, so, before the challenge, they said, hey, you got to divide the tribe into threes. So the three tribes were Julie, Bruce, and Kendra, Austin, Kat, and Emily, and Drew, D, and Jake. And so was it Austin? No, it was Drew, D, and Jake out. No, it was Austin, Kat, and Emily were out first, right? They were looking for the ropes, and they were one of the first ones there. But then Julie, Bruce, and Kendra came back, last place. And that challenge where you hold the ball on that was hard. That's a hard one. I mean, that's really, really hard. Which it was cool to see Jake, overcome that, because he was having a lot of trouble on the balance beam, and he got over it.
That's
which was
stressful.
Really cool to see. Yeah.
To be the one, like, no one can go until you finish it. It's like that's in your head, and then you have this task that's hard too. I was glad to see him, but that did look challenging.
They've had it on previous seasons, and like some people have not been able to do it.
Yeah.
So it's a hard challenge. But then at the end, of course, it was Bruce who won, and Julie and Kendra were in the final three. But it was Drew, D. No, sorry, it was Austin, Kat, and Emily who lost their vote.
Surprising. It was surprising to see them come in last there, because they started so strong, and I usually expect with Austin on the team, I'm like, okay, and like Emily's, a hustler, and Kat is Kat.
Well, Reba did a good job too of dividing the tribes, right? Because they had the choice to divide the tribes at camp, and they could have put all three people on one team and then possibly had three people lose their vote, but they did it two Reba, one Reba. And then before Tribal, Julie was like, guys, I'm completely alone. So if this goes to Tribal right away, I'm going to be voted off. And so what did Austin do? He gave her one of his extra idols, right? And that kind of.
There's Julie alone.
Right. Julie alone with one of Austin's idols. Yeah.
Right. But I mean, she was the one that wasn't, you know what I mean? She was the one that they separated out. Like, I don't know. Just look, you got to look at all those little things. Point.
It's a good point.
Yep. Here you go, Julie. We'll give you an idol, but you're not going to be with us. So
true.
I think it was an interesting choice. I really wanted to talk about the smart Ozzy. Oh my God, he was a smart Ozzy this week.
It turns out
he was a smart Ozzy.
It turns out he's the smart Ozzy because he solved that puzzle, and that thing came up, and I was like, I would just be like, I'm done. I can't figure this out. And I was only in 3 minutes too. Okay, he made the name, and we joke a little bit, but all right, he is the smart Ozzy.
Yeah.
Well, he did say, I kind of come off as this surfer dude, but I'm really an MBA, student right now. I am a smart guy. I know I come off a little bit, I said, I was like, I've said he kind of looks like a ditz or like a surfer, like whoa, dude. But he kind of has that self-awareness. Say, okay, I kind of do look that way, but he's a smart guy.
Yeah.
But how crazy. Emily, I know she's like mortified and we shouldn't pick on her because she's but how do you not get that, Emily? Really?
No.
Really? It wasn't that hard of a puzzle. I know she's freaking out, and you probably ask her first name and she'd probably forget it, under pressure. But I can't, that is actually, if you look at it, because they gave you all of the now I'm looking like the dummy, right? All of like the plus and minuses, right? There was like 1 plus and like 4 minuses or something like that, right? So it really wasn't that hard of a puzzle. It could have been multiplication and division. It was just addition and subtraction.
I felt like to me it seemed hard. I'm not a math person, and Emily, being an analyst or financial analyst, I think there was that pressure on her, but you could tell the minute it started that she got into her own head. And this is like, that she's not good. I mean, maybe she's not. It's not one of her strengths. Like, looking at math and writing it out. That's not her strength, but she kept saying it. I'm not good at it. Everyone thinks I'm good at it and I'm not good at it. Like that's a story I feel like she's told herself. So the minute she saw it, she already was like defeated, frustrated, stressed, anxious. You could just tell that her mind just wasn't, in it. So I feel like it was this combination of like kind of performance anxiety stories that we tell ourselves, and just being under the time pressure. It's hot, a million reasons, but I thought for sure she was going to get, I was honestly shocked that Austin got it. I was like, wow, okay. He really backed it up. Even when he said, everyone thinks I'm a surfer dude, but like you said, but I'm really an NBA. I was kind of like, okay. And then he got it and I was like, okay, like I see you. Good job.
Yeah. I love this. Poor Emily, she isn't my favorite, but you could visibly see her going through a panic episode during the math problem. You could. Yeah, she was like, it was just jumbled numbers in front of her. And she like you said, Gina, she'd already lost the battle because she had told herself that she's not good at it. I can't do this. And so yeah, and Austin came with the attitude of I can do this, right? I'm a lot smarter than this is in my wheelhouse. I can do this. And so did anyone try to do the puzzle? Like
no way. I wouldn't even know where I am terrible at math. And so I knew if that was me out there, I'd be like, I have no idea. And I think Kat maybe could have gotten it, but she started to get really stressed towards the end and started panicking. But it seemed like she was starting to, make some sense of it. And she got close, and whereas Emily's she was like, I wasn't even in the ballpark. But no, I didn't try it. And I know I would never. You could leave it with me for 3 hours, Brie, and I still do it. I'd still be like, are you still working on it? I'm like, yes, I am. I do not know what it is.
I think if anybody that like practices things and was really good at it from seasons past, I would say Carson would probably run right through that. I feel like he would have known that. I think it's like it's got to be one of those problems that people have seen before.
Yeah, that's
right.
fair.
They didn't just pick random numbers and random things. It's like one of those things that I feel like has been out there on the internet and people have like, oh, because it's 98765432 equals 100. So I feel like he would have maybe have come across it at some point and would have just been like, oh, I know this. So wouldn't even know how to do anything.
Yeah, Carson would have been like, oh, this is the common integer formula. And I already, I've modeled this out before in my software. Yeah, he would have been easy for him.
Yeah. Do you think Drew would have been able to do it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think so for sure.
Anyone else? Yeah. Anyone else on the tribe that you think would have been okay with that?
Yeah, I want everyone to have to do simple math equations just to check them at random parts.
Yeah.
Just
forget the fire building. We want you to do a math problem.
Right. Yeah. The new Final Survivor challenge is long division. Yeah.
That would take a lot of people out.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of Julie saying, "I would never write Dee's name"?
Is
that
I didn't
smart?
catch that.
Yeah, she said it. She said, "I will never write her name." So they were talking about Dee, and that's when Kendra had brought up Dee when they were at the sanctuary, and so we see her off. I think we see her in a confessional saying, "I'll never write Dee's name." Maybe she
that
said
was
it
very interesting. I mean, I feel like you should never say that probably. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's not a great mindset to be in just because that person whose name you might not be willing to write down could be the eventual winner, And we kind of saw it maybe in a way with Matt and Jag and Big Brother and definitely Survivor Alliances in the past. Like, you're really not willing to take the shot at them. And then, another good example is like from Big Brother would be like Cody and Derek, the season Derek one. Like Cody just was so loyal that you're just basically playing for second place,
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, like, is there a world where she could or would? And I think you have to be open to all possibilities, even cutting your number one. I mean, at the end of the day, you've only been out there 18 days and this is a game. And I know it's hard to separate the two, but I don't know that that's ever a great attitude to have. Though I do respect loyalty. I don't think you should just cut someone just because. But if you can take the shot and advance yourself, I think sometimes you just have to do it.
Yeah, I think when you get down to it, when it's coming close, otherwise you are playing for second. Julie is definitely going to be playing for second because she has to, but it comes to the point which, I had mentioned to Alex before we started today, I wanted to talk about the people that are playing, that are left. And how are they playing and how do they
Ooh.
see themselves? How do they see their game?
Mm.
Alex, I wanted your response first. Did you have anything you wanted to add to Julie saying that about Dee?
No, I actually didn't catch that part where she said she would never vote off the. I feel like they feel like they're both playing very similar games. They've been together from day one.
Yeah.
I mean, Dee really hasn't done that much. I
No,
mean,
she hasn't.
she's extremely likable.
Mhm.
She Johanna said she acts like she's stoned. You know, she's always got this big grin. She's always so like happy, and I think she's just so likable. That's her game. But if you just look at it like, you know, from the outside, she's really not doing that much. So I feel like Julie feels like, okay, we're playing the very same game. And how do you know, differentiate it really?
Yep.
And it's just going to come down to the personal relationships. And maybe Julie feels like she has deeper relationships with people that aren't just like this kind of flirty relationship. Maybe she is building these deeper relationships with all the people that Dee isn't.
Well,
So-
Julie is building I agree with you. Julie is building relationships with other people, and Dee is kind of with her four, and that's it. Even Austin and Drew making their relationship with Emily. It's like, what is Dee doing outside of the four? And she's just banking on that all the way to the end. And so I agree. I mean, she's won the rice for her tribe, and she orchestrated the Kendra vote. But is that really enough at the end to win if you haven't made those other relationships? You basically ignored everyone else. Again, that situation with Jake and the rice, it's just like, bad jury management. We're a jury. What are we doing being mean and rude?
Well, it is a younger tribe too. You know, everyone is on the younger side, and Mama Julie. So people have that affinity towards her, that she's this older woman, and they respect that, and they see how challenging that is. It's easy for Dee, a pretty, you know, lady, to flirt with all these guys. You know, like, is that really that hard of a game for her? You know?
Yeah.
Worked for Parvati.
I was about to say,
Parvati.
it did work for Parvati. And, you know, I mean, it is a strategy, and Parvati won on that, you know, on that strategy, among other things. But I think Dee's going to have to do more to win. They're hyping her up, but
I just don't think that Caleb and Kelly, you know, those are the two on the jury right now. I don't think they would respect Dee's game as much
no.
as Julie's game.
No.
Right.
No.
And we have to also remember it's all perspective. And so that's what I think is really interesting is how do these players like see themselves playing? What is their final speech saying this is why I should win? And then what is the consensus of who's left and who's on the jury of how well you've played, right? So, you know, they're all saying, like Kendra, 100% sure, we got to get Dee. She's the one we have to get. Why is that, right? What is that? And so if that is the perception that Dee is the one that's running the show, that she's doing all these things, then they're the ones that are voting. So if they perceive Dee as being the ringleader and the head honcho on all this stuff, then it doesn't matter how much Dee has done, is if she's perceived that way. That's why they would give it to her more.
Yep.
Do you feel that Dee beats Austin at the end?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does Dee beat Julie?
Yeah.
And Dee beats obviously Drew. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think it's because Dee is just likable. I mean, at the end of the day, and like Ree was saying, because she is the figurehead and the thread, if she makes it to the end, that is a testament to her game and her relationships with those three people, to say, you guys knew I was going to beat you this entire time. Everybody around you said I was going to beat you this entire time,
And you didn't
and
vote me
you
out.
still didn't vote me off.
Yeah, she's like the queen, you know, she's like the queen bee, and she's got the little bee workers doing her bidding. Yeah, I mean, you're probably right that she wins, you know, against any of them, anybody right now.
Before we move on to each individual person, would you agree that Bruce kind of has Michael Scott vibes?
Yes.
What a great analogy comparison.
Watch it over. Watch this. He kind of has those Michael
like,
Scott vibes.
A grand idea of who he is. World's best boss, you know? He's got world's best boss vibes. Yeah, that's funny, Alex.
But he does have that endearing side to him where you could see the child.
When you roll your eyes and say,
that wants to be like, right?
That's great. Yes, 100%.
That's awesome. I love that.
That's funny.
I like this comment here. Am I the only one who feels like Jake is getting a F3 with no votes? Edit.
I know. I feel like, you know, when it comes to Jake, it just comes down to next week. Like, they've got to make the move and take the shot at the core four, and then maybe he goes on a little run to the end. But right now, I don't know how Jake really comes out of this with votes, and I think he kind of knows he just messed up his game a bit, and it really comes back to that big move he wanted to make where Katurah just didn't get on board. If that had happened, I think we'd be having a different conversation. But Kat's out here just ruining everybody's games left and right, just poof up in smoke.
Yeah, I actually wrote, I like that Bobby said that, because I actually wrote when I was watching how Jake was playing and how he just keeps being this like lovable goof now at this point. Like they just aren't taking him seriously, and he's just still bouncing around. Is he becoming a goat? Is he the one? Because I don't think Julie is a goat anymore, which is what I had pegged her for in the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think they see Jake as this oaf, stumbling over himself, putting his foot in his mouth, type of character that won't win. Really lovable guy, likable guy, but not playing a good game at all.
Very desperate game, unfortunately. And I wanted to see him do well.
A desperate game, yeah. And you saw it at Tribal. I think he has this perception that he's playing a better game, because at Tribal, when Kendra was getting voted off, it was really weird. But he turned really abruptly and crossed and looked at her, and I didn't really understand it, but who knows what he's telling himself in his head as far as what's happening there, right?
He has some social skills he needs to work out. Like even when Kelly got voted out, he went, whoa. I'm like, all right, stop. You know what I mean? It's like,
right.
I want to root for him, but he just does things sometimes where I'm like, no, don't do that. He needs someone, he needs a handler out there that's like, don't do that. Don't say that, please.
100%.
Going down the tubes, right, Bree?
Yeah, and you said something really important, Alex, which is the thing is that he is desperate, right? He knows he doesn't have a good game. He knows he doesn't have much of an alliance. So he is actually the perfect goat, because if you say, I'll bring you to the end, let's stick together, he's going to latch onto that and he'll stay true to that. Like he is the guy that will stay with you and help you. He is that extra vote. And getting that extra vote sometimes is the key. So if you put Jake in your pocket to bring to the end, because he can't win. You know it. Can't say that about Julie or Dee or Emily or Drew or Emily. Austin. The only one I think that Jake could possibly beat, and that's just because they like him, is Jake could beat Kat at this point.
Yeah. I mean,
if Kat's pissing people off, telling things behind their back and stuff, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think Emily did a better job of using her position of, look, I'm on an island. I have literally nobody here. I feel like she was more strategic about it, whereas Jake is almost begging, please, I'll do anything. Just use me. I don't have a home. I need a home, blah, blah, blah. So, all right. Whereas I think Emily just played a much calmer game and, inserted herself with Drew and Austin and everyone, pretty much likes her. Or, I mean, even Bruce, who doesn't like her, he doesn't really have a problem with her. He's not really even saying her name. So I feel like Emily played that strategy much better than Jake. And I don't know what he can do at this point. It's again, if they don't come together, if these, the island of misfit toys, if they don't come together next week to make a move, we're done here,
I think Emily can see that too, though. She's a smart one to see that.
Yeah.
Well, we said, Caleb still does have a lot of sway over the kind of consensus of the group. And we talked about this, of him contextualizing Emily's story for her. And because they respect Caleb so much and his perspective on things, that he could actually tell Emily's story in a compelling way, and if she goes to the final with people who are maybe less compelling, like Kat or, Austin may not be able to pull his words together, or even Drew, then there's a path forward for her winning. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I liked what Bobby said about him sitting. That's what I thought too. That was his courtroom. I'm gonna sit down and okay, next. What do you got next?
Yeah.
Come back at me. I don't know. Yeah, he needs to work on his social cues and his things, that he's just not doing a great job of reading the room. Which you would think as an attorney that he would need to do that, but apparently you don't. What do we think? Does Kat stand a chance where she's at right now?
No, I don't think she gets any votes at the end. I don't know how she could. She hasn't won anything. She has no alliance. Any chance she had in an alliance, she blew up. So it's unfortunate, because I was kind of hoping she would do well, but similar to, although I was rooting for her a little less than Jake, but What do you think, Alex?
I forget the woman's name, but it was on the season with Tony. There was a blonde woman, older lady, that she saw the writing on the wall that her tribe was going to get eliminated. And right when the merge happened, she switched tribes. She got to the end with Tony and she said, well, I made this big move. You know, I sold out my tribe and I got them all voted off. And that's why my game was so good. And
Yeah, and everyone's like,
nobody,
no.
nobody respected it. Nobody. And that's like the only move she's made. And I guess she holds it up highly, like, oh, well, I was the smart one of our alliance, so I betrayed us all. It's
You
like,
mean Cass, Chaos Cass.
Is that Chaos
Well,
Cass? Okay, yeah.
Right, Chaos Cass McQuillan. Yeah, she really thought she did
Also an
something.
attorney.
Yes.
ooh.
Yeah. But people, you're right, Alex. People didn't, respect the move, and it didn't do for her what she was kind of hoping. And when you're gonna turn on your alliance, like it's a real dicey move because it could just not sit well with people at all. And so you're gonna need to have a very good reason to justify it and make sure that you are that you have formed other relationships and that people like you. And that's one of Cass's issues, was calling yourself Chaos Cass in the first places. Probably doesn't bode well.
Yeah, don't give yourself those nicknames.
Yeah, no.
So, what about Bruce? We talked a lot about him today. Do we think that he could win this?
I mean, part of me says no because no one likes him, and so I think that's going to be the hardest part. Is like, even if he is the best player, there's got to be someone sitting in that final three that everyone's like, I would just rather, they win it. Unless like we kind of saw maybe an opportunity for change when he heard what Kelly had said and he said he wanted to go home and talk to his wife and his daughter, and that's not the person he wanted to be. But I kind of felt a tribal council that was just coming back out again when he was talking about himself being a threat. I was like, Bruce, stop. Bruce, I don't think has the jury management to win.
That's a good point.
The only thing that makes me think he could win is this is the season of Easter eggs. They've been doing all these Easter eggs, and they did a transition from the Survivor logo on the beach to Bruce, who was sitting on the beach. And it was a really cool transition. It reminded me of like an Australia transition. It was a super cool transition. But I thought, is that foreshadowing that he might pull it to the end? And if he goes on this, challenge run, and then he did grow up in foster care. And maybe people don't know that story about Bruce. And like I said, maybe that will contextualize his behavior to them. And they'll say, he really wasn't that bad. He actually did keep it light. He did keep it fun. He is a likable guy. It takes a while to, build that, but, proximity and seeing somebody over and over again. Eventually, if you're a nice person, you just start to forgive people and you like them. Yeah. And it really does depend on who he goes with to the end too. But I personally can't see how he could win unless he just has this amazing speech. But other than that, he's not really playing a very good game. I mean, one of the questions they always ask is, what's the one move that you made that nobody else was a part of that you did that changed the game? And the immunity, I won all these immunities. We've seen it on previous season. It isn't respected anymore. Winning immunity challenges might as well just be not even a relevant statistic as far as final tribal goes, because people don't respect immunity wins anymore.
Especially with so many idols in the game, like you can get immunity in a lot of different ways. So, whereas I think in old school Survivor, like obviously winning those challenges was everything. It's important, but it's not everything now. It's more that strategy. And you're right. Like, what can he say at this point? I don't think that he will get no votes, but I don't know that he could win at the end. But again, it depends. I mean, if he took Jake and Katurah to the final three, he wins. But it depends. But any other combination, and I don't know.
Yeah, it depends on how he plays his idol, I think, too. Yeah. If he keeps winning these challenges, I do think there's a point where there is respect for that when they've won so many that have just kept them in the game. Like they've done what they need to do. Like watching him, and his are endurance ones, which I always feel like are more impactful because you're pushing yourself to your absolute limits. And so when people see you doing that, like it's impressive. So I think it depends on who he's with. I think who he's with and how he plays at idol. So, but what about Drew? Is he going to use his?
I mean, his idol. Yeah, I mean, he needs. I feel like going into next. I mean, they can only use it to 5, and so like they got to play them soon, and maybe they don't play them on themselves, but for somebody else in their alliance. But with Austin and Drew's idols in play, like I don't know how they're really taking shots. Like they would have to blindside them so so well, and there's a lot of loose lips running around that island, so I don't know how they're going to be able to do it.
Yeah, when it comes down, sorry, it's too dry in this house today. But they have Austin has 2 idols.
Yeah.
Drew has I can walk out. Does he have an idol too?
Safety without power.
Yeah, safety without power. I was thinking, what idol does he have? But I guess he has safety without power,
sorry,
right? Yeah.
So safety without power.
So they can actually go pretty far.
Oh yeah,
sharing those.
Yeah, can he share safety without power or no? Or he can only use it, but I'm wondering.
Yeah, I was thinking the one way that he could use it, but it seems like a really risky one, is to give it to somebody like Bruce, who might have an idol, to say, hey, we'll keep you around, just leave tribal so it doesn't even come into play. And then they can extend some trust to him and stuff like that, to take off another vote, just in case they do feel like there might be something weird going on, and they could eliminate one of the extra votes, the obvious ones. But yeah,
that would be good to use against Emily then.
Do you mean give it to Emily to go home, or give it to Bruce?
No, give it to Bruce, because he would be a vote more likely against them than if they wanted to get rid of Emily. You know what I mean? Like if they're going to do that, like we need so many votes. So if they say they need 3 votes or whatever it is, and Bruce is one of the votes that they need or whatever, I just see a circumstance like to keep him from voting against them to get rid of Emily. Then they have a stronger. I don't know. We'll see. It's also going to depend on who gets immunities and things like that. So
if one of the 4 wins individual immunity, you have individual immunity, 2 idols, and a safety without power. You can't touch any one of them. So if they even get a whiff that someone's trying to break them up, they could play everything. I don't think it's smart to play everything this moment, but they could, to protect all 4 of them, and then they have no choice but to pick it up. But it also is smart, because then they just have the numbers. So if they play everything next week, they protect all 4 of them, you're down at 7, and there's nothing anybody can do anymore. Unless you can break the 4 up, you can pull one of them over and it goes 4-3 the other way. But right now it's not. I think, we were saying earlier, like, I don't think Austin's ever voting for D, and I don't think D's voting for Austin. And then Julie said she's not voting for D. So they're going to be hard to break up. But what happens at 4? Does it go boys versus girls, or what happens there?
Well, if Drew or Austin did want to make a big move, this would be a really great episode. There was no foreshadowing to it, so I really don't feel like it's going to happen. But yeah, Alex with the conspiracy theories. Yeah, I am the conspiracy theorist. Yeah, here's my conspiracy. Okay.
Yeah.
They want to get D off.
Yeah.
Here's what they do.
Okay.
Austin and Drew play both of the idols.
Yeah.
Okay. They then send it. I think she might have to choose to use it, but they use the safety without power for Julie. And then they can't get voted off. And then they just tell Emily, Jake, Kent, or Kat, Bruce, we have to get D off right now, guys. She's completely unprotected. We know we're in an alliance with her. Cards out on the table. This is our big move. We got to get her out. Sorry, sorry, D. And then D's just like, no, like, please don't. But that would be that would be a really cool tribal. I wish they would do that. But I think we'd have to look into the fine print on that idol.
Yeah, we need to read
I'm giving this to Julie. Julie has to go right now.
That would be
great. And then
great.
They could tell Julie a little bit of a lie about what actually happened at tribal.
True.
To maybe save that relationship and save that face. That would be my ideal scenario.
I think what's going to happen, I don't think that the core 4 actually makes it to 4. I think at 5, they pull in the swing vote to take a shot at one of them, because it's too unpredictable at 4 who's really taking who. So, but to me, I think it looks like the 4 makes it to 5, and then at 5, somebody goes. Bree, what's your prediction?
I think that one of the 4 of the core 4 has to make a big move. And so they're going to instigate it. However it works out, and it'll probably be Austin or Drew, because they're the ones that have the most power when it comes to advantages and idols. Mm-hmm. So one of those 2 are going to conspire together and say, or one of them is going to say, like Drew, who's coming up with plans all the time, is saying, I need to put the nail in this coffin. I need to guarantee that if I'm at the final tribal, that I can say, I did this, I did this, I did this. I made this happen. I put you on the jury. I put you on the jury. Do a little, do a little of you were all here because of me, because I outwitted you and I outplayed you, and now I'm outlasting you. So, like, if you can take those 3 words and put that in your final speech where you can show direct correlation on things you've done to make those things happen, then that's a winning speech. That's what gets you. And so I think it will be Drew. That's like, I got rid of Julie. I got rid of Dee. I got rid of Emily. I honestly think they would, I don't know. They're going to have to at some point, like, decide who can I stand up against. So that's why I think Drew is going to want to have that extra oomph, because Austin can say, oh, we did all this together. And Drew can say, no, I did this plan. I made sure I got rid of one of your number ones, Dee, right? Who you were close to make sure, you know what I mean? And that can give him that extra, I did more than you guys did, so that no one can ride coattails or do any of those things. That's how I see it. I think that's what's going to come into play, and that's what's going to break the core 4 up. And they're going to have some people there. And then they take Jake or they take Kat. I don't think they take Bruce.
No.
I think they're going to be still scared enough of his immunity wins and things like that they wouldn't take Bruce.
I agree.
So, well, we're going to run out of...
If Jake did make it to the end, I feel like he would be supremely confident that he would win.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? He would be like, I got it in the bag.
Yeah. That's so
He's like, as I'm reading the vote, he's like,
yeah.
Yep.
Wicked.
Yep. And he gets 0.
Yeah.
He gets 0.
Oh my gosh.
Before we run out of time, we got to get to Jeff. A couple of things. First of all, I read a story about Jeff. I interviewed Jeff and they asked him what makes a great Survivor player. What do you think is going to be, like, how do you pick him? Like, because we've seen him quit. We've seen these things. Like, is there something special like about the person? And I loved his answer. And his answer was, an amazing Survivor player is a storyteller. And that's what that's the thing that they're looking for, because their stories are what carries the show. And sure, I'm sure they help it along and do little things, but when it comes down to it, they want a really great story. They want the person that can tell their story, because there's one thing about having a great story but if you can't tell your story and make it compelling and bring the audience in, Bruce just did that, because he talked about his, things that he went through. Brandon, or was it Brandon? Who was the one? Wait, now I can't remember. The one that was in the car and was eating in his car. And his parents.
Jake.
That was Jake.
Jake's
okay, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So, like, those are like really compelling stories that bring the audience in and make them likable.
Yeah. Even Dee's story, I think she's from Cuba. She said, my parents would walk up the stairs, with water, and, we didn't eat, and, great. I think that's why she is seen as a threat, because her story is really, really compelling. I was also thinking too, if you think about Australia, Heroes versus Villains with King George, he narrated that entire season. Now he is like a narrator and stuff, but you see that in these of like the people who are able to give the entire season a context, are the people who seem to do really well in the game, because they understand everybody's story too. So they're not only a good storyteller, but they understand the function and how stories play into the game and how everyone's story. It's really not the strategy. It's, you could say, I'll take a Jeff's words, right? It's the story. So
yeah,
right.
That's really interesting. I didn't think that would be the storyteller. I thought it'd be somebody who's tough, or somebody who, is cutthroat or puts feelings aside. Storyteller? I don't know. I didn't see that.
And that's what Jeff said. It's a storyteller, but it's true. If you look at it, it is the ones that do tell the stories or create the stories. So that's like the villains who do all the dastardly deeds while they're there, and they're making a story while they're there that's making it enjoyable, to the ones that bring the backstory, or like you said, Dee, and people that or King George, who are narrating or giving us, bringing us, weaving the season together with the things that they're talking about. Yeah.
Well, think about the big players too, like Malcolm or Ozzy, or there was another one in there, Joe. Remember Joe with the big hair? Really great players, really likable, not good storytellers though.
No,
Mhm.
no, not good storytelling.
Not
It's
good
funny because
storytellers.
Ozzy is such a Survivor icon,
Mhm.
and it's like I feel like I don't know him,
Yep.
but you can think about people from way early in seasons, Jenna Maraska or Ethan or, there's so many people, even someone like Jerry Manthe, like, who was a villain in Survivor Australia, but it's like I kind of feel like I know them more. And yeah, I agree. Like some people,
Coach,
yeah,
Coach.
I mean, there's
huge storyteller, and
oh,
he had wild
he
stories,
is a
man. You know
huge
what I mean?
storyteller. Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
like, yeah, you walk away from like, someone like Ozzy, who I have a lot of respect for as a
Yeah.
physical player, but just think to myself, I don't I don't have any like personal connection to the story. And yet we talk about players, we're in season 45. We talk about players from season 1, 2, 3, that still have an impact on us. That's a really good point. And there's something always about Ozzy that's been off to me, but that's what it is. It's just I don't
Yeah.
have any connection to his story. I would
Yeah.
I would like to know
Why?
it.
Why is he like Mowgli? How could he
Why?
climb up in these trees? And
How
how can he
can
do
he
all
do
these
that?
things?
Go
And
get
you
those
never
coconuts.
know his story. And we talk about it with Bruce too. We hated Bruce. We didn't hate, but we didn't like Bruce
Yeah.
until we knew his story. And
And
then
that
we're
just
like, wow, he's Michael Scott. We love him. Right?
He really is. That's
100%.
funny.
Really interesting. So I found that really interesting and it made a lot of sense. So
Yeah.
if you want to be on Survivor, a couple things. If you want to be on Survivor, go take training on how to do a TED Talk or also take a storytelling class so you can get better at it. But also, Jeff gave us his usual, he does that promo like, if you want to be on Survivor and be
Yeah.
out here, come on along. But I don't know, maybe I haven't listened to it in a while or paid attention to it, but I heard his words this time and I paused and I stopped. And I listened, and it said, Survivor can be a brutal game that will bring you lower than you ever want to go.
I bet.
But if you want a life-changing adventure, apply today. And I think it was, I'm tired of y'all quitting.
He's not going to snuff torches anymore. How great is that he's not going to snuff your torch? He just say, go, get out.
But like, be prepared.
Yeah. He should. It's not.
You know what I
easy.
mean? And so, yeah, it's crazy.
I
kind of wanted to leave things there for us today and be like, it is brutal and it will take you lower than you ever want to go, but it is quite the experience and it is life changing. So, and that's it.
I don't know. I've been on the fence for many years, 20 years.
Apply.
On if I should apply. I don't know. I'm having that thing in me. I'm like, oh man, that sounds.
You're a storyteller.
Do
Come
it.
on,
You are a
Alex.
storyteller.
We'll
Get
submit the podcast. Yeah, I don't know. Well, here, if we get some more subscribers to this, then guys, subscribe to the podcast and then comment. Alex, you have to apply.
100 more subscribers, new subscribers, and Alex has to apply.
Will apply. And we will watch his audition tape.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Do it. Let's do it. And then everybody will have the pleasure. Here's why you really should too. You'll see me just as one swollen mass on Survivor because I react really horribly to mosquito bites. So I'll just be like one giant, mosquito bite. Yeah. Definitely like Alex. He might be like, Alex, do you want to quit?
Do you need medical?
Yeah. I think we might have to take Alex out of the game.
Yeah, we agree with Bobby. You have to apply.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Bobby, 100 subscribers, 100 more subscribers, and we'll do it.
Go.
Challenge accepted, he said. Okay.
Let's go tell the Tribe of Spoken Facebook
we've
group.
been here. Yep, he's here. They're cheering you on. Everybody's excited for this. I love it.
Yeah, that's great.
Way to do it.
Well, are we going to give Jeff? Are we going to do a torch?
We could do a torch cook. Yeah.
All right, let's torch Jeff.
For me, it was, I think he's redeeming himself. I mean, last week was brutal. I loved him last week, though. I thought it was really great. I don't think there was as much to work with today, so I got to give him a solid 4. I think that's pretty, that's okay.
Same.
Yep.
It wasn't his most checked out, and it wasn't his most fiery. He did great. 4. Hi,
Jeff.
Every week, I'm like,
why am I in that spot? She said.
I love it. It's great. 4 torches for Jeff.
He said, I just love the format. It's you could watch each season. He says the same things each season. This one I picked up on. That's how you do it on Survivor.
Yeah. That's his big one.
That's always a good one. So I'll give him 5 because I like that quote.
He did the catchphrase. Yeah.
He did the catchphrase.
Yeah.
When they talked about his catchphrases at Tribal, which I thought
they
was
did.
Really
that was
cute
funny.
too.
They gave him a little bit of a hard time, and he was like enjoying it, joked back with them. That was funny. All right.
Yeah, that was funny.
Let's get into it. You got to do the nod. Let's get into it.
It's his ways.
You got to have both hands on your knees, kind of lean forward a bit. All right.
Yep.
No,
What a
that's
fun
cute.
time. We thought it was going to be a quiet and short episode today, but we had a lot to talk about. It was a lot of fun. A lot of, we'll see how it all pans out. We've got not a lot of time left. We are rolling right into December now. So there's not that many episodes left. And so I think it's gonna be great. It got renewed for 90 minutes again, which we knew it was probably going to do.
Nice.
So I think next season, we're also going to start talking a little bit as soon as they announce the players on Australian Survivor. I'm looking forward to that. I want to talk a little bit about it. If you haven't caught up on Heroes versus Villains over on Australian Survivor, you need to do so. If you want to watch it, join The Tribe Has Spoken. It's a Facebook group, and they have all the links to everything that you want to see and catch up on. I know, Alex, you've been watching a lot of it. It's good stuff down there. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, I'm a big Survivor fan, big Survivor critic too. And you were right, Brie. The Heroes versus Villains Australia was maybe the best season of Survivor.
Wow.
Out of all of them. I mean, it's very, very good.
I gotta
I'm a
get
big
on it.
King George fan, so without any spoilers, it was a very good season.
Yeah.
Nice.
My
Okay.
girl Nina was on there too, which I love.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Love
Nina's on there.
any
Yeah.
wine legacy that we can have. I'll
Yeah.
take it. Right. So, all right, guys, thanks for joining us today. It's been such a blast. We appreciate you being here, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Until then, bye.
Bye.